Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Out of Nowhere podcast. I'm Oliver James, and with me today it is the teacher, Michael Allen.
The teacher? Matt Striker, hi.
The man of 1,004 rants, it's Russ Poynton.
Hello.
And it is the boss, Chelsea Edgerton.
So I'm ill for 1 week and I'm less.
But you are the boss.
Jesus Christ, I tried to bring in a few nicknames, I tried to liven it up a bit, and nope, it slags me off in the first 30 seconds of the podcast.
No, it's more like 7 seconds.
I love being a host. Anyway, welcome to the latest Out of Nowhere podcast. On today's show, we will be jumping into the Fast Lane predictions, of course, with the pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. But before we get into that, let's talk about some of the recent news stories of this week. First and foremost, we have the news that WWE Network have announced that there will be a Cruiserweight show coming to the network. The longer-rated rumoured Cruiserweight show is coming to the network in July. It is a 10-episode series based around a 32-man Cruiserweight tournament. What are people's thoughts on this?
If only we had said it earlier. Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I like it too.
Cut. End it there. Job done.
Next.
But is this what we want to see from like the WWE? Is a show dedicated to Cruiserweights something that you're interested in, especially Cruiserweights that aren't even contracted to the main roster?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. It's going to be awfully interesting how they're going to do it. I'm a little bit undecided on whether I would have preferred it to be played out on Raw and SmackDown. But I can see the reason as to why not. Especially when they're going to be getting people from outside the WWE, which is a whole can of worms. I mean, who is going to appear? Who can appear? Contractually, it's going to be a difficult one to pull off. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, one of the things I'm thinking about is like the running time of the actual shows. Because if we've got 32 wrestlers over a 10-week period, and I'm guessing it's just going to be judged on matches and things like that, rather than it being like a Tough Enough style thing. But so yeah, I'm just interested to see how long each episode is going to be and what they're actually going to do with it, because I do not want another reality show when it comes down to it, and that's what they like to do.
Well, there's going to be a level of judging somewhere, isn't there? Because you can't say it's a knockout, it's a winner stays in tournament, and the whole thing be scripted. It doesn't work. So there's going to have to be a level of judging somewhere if it is a 32 tournament, if someone is the winner.
But what I'm hoping for is like with Tough Enough and stuff, we had like ZZ, for example. He was not a great wrestler at all, and when it came down to the public vote, people were just taking the piss and having that in. I want to see like actual talent be I want them to be actually judged on their talent, and we get the good guys going through rather than an idiot in a crocodile mask that people just take the piss out of. If
we take a regular episode of NXT, we tend to see what? 3-4 matches? Well, 5 or 6 matches, but obviously 3 of them tend to be 5-minute affairs, with the main event going about 10 minutes, and you get another about 7-minute match in there. So with a 32-man tournament over 10 episodes, I think that's 30 matches, if I'm not mistaken, to take 32 down to 2. So you could effectively do 3 10-15-minute matches with promos added in there and build up storylines, and then as you get closer to the end you can have rematches of certain talents who had built up a bit of a grudge, or throw in some exhibition style matches, a couple of random like tag team matches. There's, if they do it off that kind of basis, there's plenty to kind of work with.
Well, they do a lot of I don't know if they still do, but when listening to podcasts with people like William Regal when he was on with Colt Cabana, and he was talking about when he was back in the day, you'd go to Germany and go into these wrestling competitions. It must work in a similar. It must go into work in a similar vein to those. Like, I don't really know how they worked either, because there was how many falls you can get in a certain time period, I guess. They used to do it in rounds, didn't they? That was it. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I just don't know how it's going to work.
And I think I was doing a bit of a count-up of the roster, and currently, if you don't include El Torito and Hornswoggle, which part of me hopes that they don't, but this is the WWE, you can never be too certain of who makes it as a cruiserweight. There is only 12 current active members of the WWE roster, including both main roster and NXT, who are under the £205 limit. and even that's pushing it. So on the main roster, you've got Kalisto, Neville, Sin Cara, Tyson Kidd, and Xavier Woods. Tyson Kidd, injured, we don't know when he's going to return. Sin Cara is actually 210, not 205 pounds. You go down to NXT, you've got Aries, Gable, Enzo, Balor, Itami, Gargano, and Sami Zayn. If you include all of them, that only gets you 12 spots of 32. Who are the other 20 going to be?
I think it all comes down to who they're going to be able to put on contracts, whether they're... Because obviously with like TNA's contracts and stuff like that, they're free to work anywhere else as long as they show up for their tapings once a month. And
I don't think we're going to see WWE trying to get any talent off TNA. Especially if TNA keeps its TV deal, I can't. As good as they are in bringing these independent contractors in, I don't see them. And Triple H has said himself they're not going to bring in guys who are contracted. So
that's what I mean, because obviously they're going to have to do like a talent search sort of thing, aren't they? Because let's face it, all wrestlers who are of quality that are going to be on the show must already be wrestling in certain places. So it just depends on what their contracts are. And
I think it's going to be the guys like Gargano and Ciampa who are, not on the exclusive contracted deals and more.
I think we'll see a lot of guys from Evolve because NXT they're working closely with them, aren't they?
So we could see TJ Perkins, who was released by TNA, Trent Beretta, who used to wrestle for the WWE of Kurt Hawkins back in ECW and NXT first started, and Triple H himself has kind of said Progress and Rev Pro. So we could see Matt Carskins, Marty Scurll, potentially Will Ospreay, depending how his New Japan deal's like, and then of course you got Zack Sabre Jr., who's probably the biggest kind of talent from the British scene who could potentially be involved.
I think we were talking about Mark Andrews as well, and
that does again depend on his TNA contract.
Yeah, he's not really about in TNA at the moment, is he? Because I know he's pretty much been stationed, like he's been in England for a fairly long time now. I mean, he's best friends with one of the guys that runs the shows that I go to. And he wrestles there. He's been wrestling there every month for the past few months. So I don't know where he stands with TNA.
I know he's been on recently with the whole Grado O-Dog thing, because they've been in the UK, obviously, as part of their tour, their TV tapings. So maybe there's room for Mark Andrews. And going back to NXT, you obviously have their house show circuit, which includes guys like Chris Gerard, who's the former Biff Busick, who's a former CZW champion, has been involved in PWG. You've got Manny Andre, who was the former La Sombra, aka the multiple-time CML champion, the IWGP Intercontinental champion. So of course this is probably his time to shine, this Cruiserweight tournament, if they don't bring it up beforehand. And you've got Rich Swann, who was been on NXT TV recently, I believe. He made his debut.
Yeah, I think he's been on once, hasn't he?
Was it like against Baron Corbin, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was one of Corbin's jobbers, I think.
So that's potentially 15 in-house guys, which again leaves room for 17. I mean, could we see the return of Rey Mysterio? It has been rumoured he'd potentially be coming back.
Yeah, but he's in contract till 2017.
Is it 2017 now, is it?
Yeah, that's when his contract runs out there. He had a bit of problem because they weren't paying his money, but then they've paid him his money now, so his contract doesn't actually run out till 2017. And then there's potential for an option of a further 2 years, but I don't know which side that's on.
And I think if Mysterio was to come back, I doubt it would be something like that. I think he would come back onto the main roster, surely, wouldn't he?
But if they're basing this around cruiserweights,
they might use him as a name to get people to draw.
Yeah, it's a name to go, oh my god, Rey Mysterio's on the WWE Network, I'm going to buy the WWE Network to see Rey Mysterio. And like I said, I mentioned Trent Beretta, but there could be potentially other few guys they could bring back. They, as much, we've said they're not going to use contracted talents, they could go after Jushin Thunder Liger. He did wrestle on NXT recently, so it's not beyond the realms that they could go back to New Japan.
I think my biggest pick, if he hadn't have just signed with New Japan, would have been Will Ospreay.
The Young Bucks.
They're contracted with Ring of Honor for the next year, aren't they?
Yeah, that's where my pick would have been. Get the Young Bucks in, that would have been good.
I mean, there's a lot of guys in Ring of Honor. I mean, Jay Lethal, the Briscoe boys. They've got plenty of Roderick Strong. And, if TNA hadn't signed up David Richards and Eddie Edwards to a long-term contract, I'm sure they would have been probably first-name guys to come back into this, having had a previous stint in NXT. So it's a really interesting and exciting proposition, this Cruiserweight tournament, just simply because of the fact that there's going to be half of this tournament will be non-contracted WWE guys.
From the mouth of the person who said he hates cruiserweights and he never wants to see them wrestle ever again.
You love taking that out of context, don't you?
Just a little.
This announcement, it came out from Triple H this week. We had heard rumblings about it, but it was always kind of, it's just going to be an in-house thing. It's not going to be the extent that it is. But a 32-man tournament over the summer is, I think, more than any of us kind of could have hoped for, and it's something that's pretty much lit the wrestling world alight. You know, people have been talking about it. There's wrestlers have been retweeting about it, saying they want in on this. It's going to be a very, very interesting time.
And it's only going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be awesome or utterly shite. I don't think there's a middle ground. If they get it and they do it right, and they get a good amount of good talent, I think.
And they treat them well as well. It's not that they're just all coming in to lose to the WWE guys.
Exactly. Yeah. I think if that's all above board and they get the talent in, it could be the best thing on the network quite easily, and hopefully then a lot of them sign to the main contract.
I agree, and we had heard rumblings that WWE had met with Lucha Underground and AAA recently. We had heard that nothing happened of it, but if we see any of the Lucha Underground guys turn up, holy shit.
But that's where the clash of styles will come into it. You always say when they come to WWE you have to wrestle in the WWE way. I think a Cruiserweight one is going to be completely different. I mean, I think that's why it's so interesting, is that it's just going to be completely different to what you usually see in the WWE. It is going to be something that you're more likely to see in Lucha Underground, where there are, high-flying, super fast matches with just massive amounts of chain wrestling. It's going to be interesting.
I agree, and it's something that we've not seen since the Cruiserweight title was back in its heyday. When you had Rey Mysterio, Ultimo Dragon, Matt Hardy version 1, Shane Helms, Tajiri, it's
You must have hated it back then.
Absolutely. I absolutely hate all the fucking little midgets fucking flipping around. Oh wait, sorry, I'm not Jim Cornette. I'm not a massive douche.
Moving on.
But moving on for speculation around the tournament, let's move on to the speculation around who is the Undertaker going to be facing at WrestleMania this year. It originally planned to be John Cena. There's been rumblings that Kevin Owens has been pushing himself for a match against the dead man. Even Braun Strowman apparently was rumoured at one point. But we have heard for this past week from Dave Meltzer himself that there is a match for Taker at WrestleMania, but it's not anybody out on the injury list, it's not anybody on the main roster, and it's not anybody from NXT. So who is Taker going to be facing at WrestleMania?
Whoever it is, we can all agree that it's a good thing that it's not going to be Braun Strowman.
Did the Braun Strowman versus Big Show match not entice you on this past Monday Night of Raw?
Oh, please.
He's so offended he can't even answer that question.
Dignified with a response. The name I've seen most of all, which is kind of logical, is Kurt Angle.
I have seen that thrown around, and his contract does end with TNA, doesn't it? This retirement tour is actually him ending his contract because I think he picked up a match with Rey Mysterio, hasn't he?
Yeah, Kurt Angle is gone from TNA now.
He's always said he would be happy to go back, and WWE have always said they'd be happy to take him back. Now, however, he's at an age and at a time where his body is so beat up, man.
I was going to say, doesn't this surely fly in the face of Daniel Bryan retiring due to his injuries for them to only bring back Kurt Angle, who, frankly, his body looks like it's held together with fucking duct tape right about now.
And that neck continues to get bigger and bigger. Like, I'm sure it's going to swallow his head at some point.
But he looks like a thumb now.
Absolutely does.
So, I mean, first and foremost, would you want to see a Taker versus Kurt Angle match at WrestleMania in both of their current conditions?
I'm going to assume that Kurt Angle would get himself in prime condition, and it would be fantastic. I love Kurt Angle, and I would happily watch him over 95% of any roster, But man, the few times I've seen him wrestle on TNA most recently, he's missing a step, He's breaking down.
Yeah, that's my only concern with Kurt Angle. Like, I love him, and yeah, if he was in his prime condition again, it would be a great match. But recently, like Michael says, he's missing a step, and I just don't think he has got it in him anymore.
And frankly, we all know that this is being WrestleMania. He is going to try and do a moonsault, and it's not going to end well.
He's going to have another broken neck.
No, I hear the name Kurt Angle, and it's like a part of me that remembers him back from the days, like, oh my god, yes. But then you realise where he is now, and it's like, it makes me cringe. It does make me cringe.
It's still better than a lot of the wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. That's hard to argue with. It's just, it's 2016.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? The recipe for disaster is a beat up old Undertaker and a beat up old Kurt Angle. But then, I'm here. I've read things that say that Undertaker's ripped and he's in the best shape he's been in a long time. You just don't know what to make of it until it actually happens. If it does happen, it has the prospects of being fantastic. It really does. But the realization is, where they're at in their lives, their careers, their age. It's just, it's held down to a 7 already.
Well, if we move on from one speculation to another name that I've seen dotted around is Sting himself being somehow managing to get himself into the ring.
Do you not count as someone on the injury list, though, at this point?
Potentially, with all that we've heard, for the last I heard, it was that he probably was never going to wrestle again at this point. I mean, hasn't he just been diagnosed with a similar injury to what put Edge out on the shelf permanently?
I mean, and he's older than Edge as well, so it'd be even more mental for him to carry on with an injury like that if that's true.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe Sting's doing a Super Cena and he's coming back and it could work. But
a crazy mental theory I had that's based on nothing is WrestleMania is going to be in Texas. Why not Stone Cold? One more match in him. What do you reckon?
I can't see it.
No.
I just just think of that stadium and how loud that stadium would be. 110, 20,000 people.
It'd sell it out. That's for sure.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. If they could keep it secret up until that point, and then the Taker comes out with the gongs, and then there's a 10-second pause, and then the glass breaks, that stadium would flip out. Could they keep it secret? Probably not. But it would be fantastic if they did. That's out of all of the ones said so far, I really do think that's the least likely.
At this point, the fact that the three names who are set to wrestle Taker are Sting, Angle, and Stone Cold, it goes to show that WWE are really clutching at straws right now to make this work and make this match something, like actually make this feel like it's a main event Undertaker match. If those three guys, who have all essentially been put permanently on the injury list, are their go-to guys for a potential match with Undertaker, it's astounding that they're not actually going with someone off the current roster like Kevin Owens, which is something we'd all love to see, Kevin Owens versus the Undertaker.
How long before we see Kevin Owens going down the CM Punk route? You didn't give me my WrestleMania moment. Fuck it, I'm gone.
Well, hopefully Kevin Owens has only just started, so we don't see that for another potential 5 or 6 years. But
he's got a kid he has to look after. He won't be doing that.
And he's not a bitch.
Hey,
shots fired.
Really Punk alone. Going back to Sting, if it was to be Sting, which again, as you said, it's something that people have wanted to see for a long time, never thought it would happen. What is the end game? What is the point? Is Taker going to lose again? Is Sting going to lose yet another match in WWE? I just don't see what anyone would get out of that other than it being something that people have wanted to see. Do you think Sting's now at a point where he doesn't actually care whether he wins or loses?
Well, I think Sting's kind of come in to basically put guys over. His first match was Triple H. But his match with Seth Rollins is all about making Seth Rollins, a big thing, and Sting's kind of like...
Yeah, and he did him a favour and retired him.
But I think as well, I mean, there've been interviews with Sting where where it's been said that if he had known he was going to wrestle another match after Triple H, he probably would have pushed more for him to win that match, because obviously it would have meant more for the guy who does to beat him. So I think it kind of... think when they brought Sting in for his match against Triple H, they had no idea that the Seth Rollins thing was ever going to happen.
What about the other name that people have bounded around, and that's Goldberg?
If Brock Lesnar managed to give Undertaker a concussion in his match, what do you think Goldberg's going to do to Undertaker in his match?
He'll squeeze right into the wellness program they've got going on, won't he?
Yep.
I mean, and I loved Goldberg as a kid, but Jesus Christ, one wrong kick from him or wrong on, jackhammer, and that's another concussion for the Undertaker.
Even if he did, he'd be looking at this as a massive paycheck and nothing else. He'd care so little.
He would just be really half-assed about it, wouldn't he?
Oh, absolutely. It'd be WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar and Austin all over again, where no one gives a shit.
I don't think if you listen to interviews he's done recently regarding wrestling, he has said that he does want to come back because he wants his kids to see him, the reason why he is who he is. So I don't think he'd half-arse it. I really don't think he'd half-arse it. I don't think he'd be able to put on a spectacular because he's never really been that much of a technical guy, so we're not going to see...
But Undertaker's WrestleMania matches have now come to the point where it isn't about that. It's going to be Hell in a Cell, it's going to have weapons, it's no disqualifications.
Well, his CM Punk match wasn't. His CM Punk match wasn't. His Triple H and Shawn... Well, his Triple H ones, yes. His Shawn Michaels ones, no. They were very much more technical. Brock Lesnar, unfortunately, due to the concussion, wrestled the kind of match that he was forced to wrestle. It's only been hardcore, really, with Triple H. And if you go back to his Undertaker's matches with Brock Lesnar this past year, well, yeah, they had some hardcore elements. They were still damn good matches and told a very good story. And I don't think you'd really get that from Goldberg.
Just get Ryback in disguise.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Ryback comes out and Goldberg's music and his entrance, and it comes upon the Titantron, and no one knows it's him.
You wouldn't be able to tell the difference anyway, would you?
No, I don't think I would. Give him a goatee. Job's good. So they're 4 pie in the sky possibilities. Realistic?
I still don't understand why it's not someone from the current roster. I really don't.
If you go for someone on the current roster, who's the
Kevin Owens? Always said it should be Kevin Owens, and it's something that he's pushed for himself. Or you do something crazy and go for Demon Balor.
I don't think Taker and Balor's the match. Do you know what I mean? Balor will just make him look slow and old.
Have you seen, John Cena's been a bit of a weasel on social media at the moment, hasn't he? He likes to be really
coy and suggestive.
And very. His Instagram is did you see there was that whole thing about his stuff before Triple H won the Royal Rumble, and he posted up a picture of number 14 with a crown on it, and that was a couple of days before the Royal Rumble, and he's been putting loads of tweets out saying how he needs to take a risk and all this sort of stuff, and I can honestly see just Super Cena coming back and them just going down that route, and he's just going to take that risk whether he's in his top form or not, because if it is Undertaker's last year, that is the match that was originally planned, wasn't it? Because we haven't had Cena versus the Undertaker.
We did back when it was Jorts wearing Cena at Judgment Day in 2002.
Yeah. I mean, Cena Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and you've not had the big kind of WrestleMania kind of big match, as it were. It was a couple of pay-per-views which Cena rightfully lost very quickly, if I recall.
Yeah, but no, I wouldn't be too fussed by that. I mean, it's something that I guess once you get over the fact it is John Cena and he could potentially win, I don't know. It's just one of those things that Cena needs to add to his thing, isn't it? Because everybody else has wrestled Undertaker at Mania and he hasn't had that opportunity. So if he's got that opportunity in front of him now to come back, to get himself better and come back as quick as he can, I'd say that's the most viable option for them.
I think the point Chelsea made about him not wrestling Taker at WrestleMania, that wouldn't necessarily be a problem to him, I don't think, because if you look at his WrestleMania history, he's got matches with The Rock and other huge matches at WrestleMania under his belt, so I don't think he's striving for that moment in particular.
But I think it's a match a lot of the fans have wanted to see at WrestleMania, especially when Undertaker had his streak. It was something that I know I used to read about, people wanting Cena to wrestle Taker for the streak.
But out of everyone on the roster who could possibly do it, if Cena's back from injury, it'd make the most sense, so I'd definitely agree that'd be the way to go.
I'd happily have Cena back to wrestle him. do see him on Twitter. He posts all of his training videos. Currently, he can't raise his right arm, above shoulder height. So he has 2 months to recover that. That's basically it. Other than that, he's totally healthy. All he needs now is range of motion in that right arm. So I don't think it's outside the range of possibility, especially we've seen in his previous coming back from injuries quickly. He might just have that body type that heals, So if he does come back, I'm all for it.
Cool. Well, let's move on from the news stories and head on to the big pay-per-view this Sunday. It is our predictions for Fast Lane. Fast Lane, well, we've spoken about it in the past where some of us aren't excited for it, some of us are. We think it could be an interesting pay-per-view. Well, let's jump in to see what our predictions will be. So first and foremost, the kick-off pre-show match, which I'm very surprised is on the pre-show, is the 2 out of 3 falls match for the United States title, Del Rio versus Kalisto. Mike, let's jump to you. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, what a load of shit. It was only a couple of weeks ago I was saying, why is this title flip-flopping around? It is losing credibility. It's losing the credibility that it built up with Cena defending it every week on Raw, and now it has totally gone. The credibility is lost completely. It's not even good enough to get on the main show. What on earth are they playing at? That match has now been on the cards and coming since the last pay-per-view, rematch clause and all that. Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler, who have only just decided to have that match. Oh, that's definitely on the main card. What is going on? It doesn't make any sense to me. Have the tag team divas match on there?
No, they've got to make a point that Tamina's wrestling, so they need everyone to see it.
Look, man, Tamina doesn't need to be seen by anybody. You know what's going to happen. I just cannot believe this is on the pre-show. And why even have a pre-show? If I'm going to rant, I'm going to rant properly. Why even bother with the pre-show? Just have an extra long pay-per-view. Make it a 3.5 hour pay-per-view. What is the point? I really don't understand this whole pre-show nonsense.
Well, I guess with the pre-shows, they're still on YouTube, aren't they? Like, the pre-shows are still on YouTube. They're still on, TV, so it kind of...
That's fine. You can put it on YouTube for the first 30 minutes, and then at that point, then it becomes... click here to continue watching, pay. I don't know, they could work around that. But man, Jesus, this being on a pre-show, it's not good enough to get on a main roster. Well, what's the point in having a title? That's my opinion. Del Rio's losing.
Well, as Mike's put it so succinctly, let's move on to Chelsea. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, to be fair, I'm pretty pissed off about it as well. I mean, just like Michael said, the credibility that was brought up with Cena and the US title was finally getting that recognition, and it's on the fucking pre-show. I don't really have anything other than what Michael said to add, because it is ridiculous. Having a title match on a pre-show that they're giving away for free, and we've seen the match fucking 10 times now. Nobody gives a shit. Yeah, Del Rio's gonna lose. Russ, it's your turn.
I agree with pretty much everything Mike said, apart from the result. I think Del Rio's going to win it, even though he's an absolute vacuum of charisma. So, yeah, I've got nothing to add to what Mike said. It shouldn't be on the pre-show. No title match should be on the pre-show. But given that the Mood Hoover Del Rio's in it, I can see why they've put it there.
Mood Hoover. I love it. That should be the name of his finisher. The Mood Hoover.
Right, he whips out a Dyson.
I'm glad that's what he's whipping out.
Well, let's close this off then. Again, I agreed. It's bizarre that this is on the pre-show. Yes, they've wrestled God 10 times, and this is the re-match of the century. But still, it's a 2 out of 3 falls match. It should be on the main card. WWE's booked some great 2 out of 3 falls matches in recent history. You have to look at Sami Zayn versus Cesaro as some of the great 2 out of 3 fall matches that they can do. So why this isn't on the main card? It's
totally forgot about the 2 out of 3 falls. That makes it even worse. That means these 2 out of 3 falls are going to be the fastest 2 out of 3 falls match you've ever seen.
How funny would it be if they put the first 2 falls on the pre-show and then made you subscribe for the third?
That would be some serious serious programming issues. Why would only WWE could do that? I believe it could happen.
I wouldn't put it past them, but I've got to go with Kalisto winning this. I don't think they put the belt on him just to give it back to Del Rio again. I think Kalisto's getting this, and he's probably going to defend in some kind of big multi-man potential ladder match at WrestleMania like last year for the Intercontinental title. So that's what I think is going to happen. So let's get off the pre-show and onto the main show, and we're going to start with the match that was mentioned earlier. It's Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks versus Team Bad. Who have people got for this one?
Do you need to ask?
Well, it's part of the contract that I've got to ask. It is a prediction show after all.
Yeah, fair enough. Team Bad are losing. The other girls are going to get the victory, leading it to Mania, and then it's going to be a triple threat match. There we go.
Yeah, there's no way that Tamina is going to get another win within the space of like 2 weeks. So.
In a career. She's never going to get a win again.
But no, Sasha and Becky are going to win. Like, there's no even debate about it, really.
Russell, you're rooting for your favourite WWE diva right now. You're going to go for the Team Bad victory?
Diva's being kind. It's got to be Lynch and Banks. They can't give them a loss in a pay-per-view before WrestleMania, especially when you definitely expect to see at least one of them at WrestleMania. So there's no way. Setting it up for the Lynch and Banks get the win, moving into the programming for the next couple of weeks where they inevitably turn on each other going into Mania, hopefully. You
might want to cut this, but fuck, marry, stun, Tamina, China, and Awesome Kong.
Can I stun myself?
No, I don't.
Russ, can I borrow your gun?
Sorry, it just came to my head. Ollie, it's your turn. What do you think about that match that's happening?
But my thoughts on this match, it's got to be Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks winning this. It just makes the most sense. Like, as good as Naomi is, she's not going to be featured on WrestleMania in a big match like the other two are for the title, so it just has to go with Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. So it looks like we're all in agreement on this one.
Hey!
Next up, we have another fun favourite for this pay-per-view. It is Big Show, Ryback and Kane versus the Wyatt family with Bray Wyatt.
This is pre-show material as well. What are they doing?
No. Big Show and Braun Strowman main evented Raw. They ended Raw with this feud for this match.
You know what? It comes to something when you can plan your toilet break from the card beforehand.
That, on a massive tangent, having them as the main event was a ridiculous idea if you then watched the Stone Cold podcast with the Big Show. The guy couldn't breathe.
What, just in the open Raw with a 5-man bloody thing for the IC title.
My God, he was there and he got there covered in beads of sweat. The poor man, he must have run
I think
from
that whoever
the ring.
The showrunner was just read the running order upside down.
Possibly. Quite possibly.
What do people think of this, like, Wyatt's feud at the moment? Like, this whole going after these Titans, like... Because I've got to assume the Wyatts are getting a win in this to carry them on the build to get them up to WrestleMania. I can't see... Has any of this interested you?
I think it's just an easy way to give the Wyatts a win, isn't it?
They just feel like they're being so wasted, and I think we've talked about this Fast Lane PPV in general. It just feels like it's a massive kind of waste and a massive kind of just stall to build to buy them time before they have to properly start building to WrestleMania. But oh man, this match is... Do you even think it's going to be a good match?
Nope.
When is ever 6 big men interesting? You know, two big men can be a push at times, man. If they can't really wrestle, there's going to be some spots in it. Maybe that you do say, "Holy shit!" People being put through tables is a high possibility on this one. I think the announcers table could quite easily go, but man, it's a hard sell.
So who have you got winning this one then?
The Wyatts.
The Wyatts. Yeah.
We're all so excited.
Oh man, it's just this show, isn't it? This
is why the Cruiserweights have to have their own show, because there's so much great content on the main shows.
It comes to something when the like little shows they put on the network are fucking a better quality than what they actually put on TV.
You watched the end of this Monday night, where we're all gonna be hyped up to our eyebrows of how good this show was. We're gonna be talking about this tag team divas match which blew us away, and Tamina put on a fantastic pay-per-view showing. Braun Strowman looked like he could wrestle with Kurt Angle. It's going to be It's going to be mind-blowing stuff.
Has Mike just suddenly started taking like a bunch of pills and he's now pepped up on God knows what?
Oh, did the heavy amounts of sarcasm not translate there?
Well, let's move on to something that is generally going to be exciting for this pay-per-view, and it's not even a match. It is the New Day being featured on the Cutting Edge Peep Show. Now, there are no match predictions for this per se, but there is a certain prediction that this whole setup with the Cutting Edge Peep Show with Edge and Christian and the New Day is all set for a debut of a certain NXT tag team.
Can I just go first and get it out of the way? That it'll be, you talk about Enzo and Cass, and I couldn't care less.
Michael, you are on thin ice.
It's I've said every time I watch him, it's just Scotty Too Hotty. That's all I can think. I just think Scotty Too Hotty has got a little bit angry. You know, he's a teacher now. He's Scotty Too Hotty, I think, and he's not liking it. Oh, he's a fireman, isn't he? And he's got a bit angry through his world, and now he's come back as Enzo Amore. I can't get past it. Except I like his entrance. Bada boom.
So if it wasn't Enzo and Cass, who would you want it to be from NXT?
Gable and Jordan Gable. Oh, American Alpha, sorry.
Oh,
shit.
far too soon.
Oh, yes, sure. But I don't want Enzo and Cass. Although, I must say, Enzo and Cass will probably, out of everybody at NXT, would be the one team who could hold their own in a ring of Edge and Christian and the New Day. At least Enzo could. I'm not sure about Cass. Cass might be able to just shout, "Oh, I'm going to spell it out for you," and then say S, and then forget the rest of the letters.
I think Mike's taking gimmick infringement from Russ here for all the bloody ranting tonight.
I'm furious.
Shall I bring some excitement to this conversation?
I fucking love
Please.
it.
I said I was going to get it out of the way so you guys could, mark out. It's fine.
Go on, Chelsea. You go on this.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on our NXT pod, didn't we, about Enzo and Cass debuting around Fast Lane. And basically what I think is going to happen, New Day are going to come out, they're going to do their thing, they're going to call Edge and Christian out, and obviously they can't wrestle, and it's just going to be a case of, we can't wrestle, but we know another E and C that can. And that his entrance promo already fits in, introduce himself. I doubt we'll get a match, but setting up for WrestleMania. Everything, fingers, toes, everything crossed. I just think it's the perfect way to bring them up with Edge and Christian putting Enzo and Cass over. They're going to be more over than the New Day by the end of the night. And it's going to be beautiful.
I've got to agree with you. We did predict it on the NXT podcast, which you'd all go listen for anyone who has been interested in what's going to happen on NXT in the run-up to TakeOver Dallas. We did predict that around this time that Enzo and Cass will be making their debut up to the main roster, and this just fits perfectly for them. You have Edge and Christian out there who can pass on just how great they are onto Enzo and Cass, and the microphone skills between Enzo Amore and Xavier Woods are going to be brilliant.
I do have a genuine question. I do actually have a genuine question, however, for this whole segment.
Mm-hmm.
The New Day have Francesca too. Edge and Christian have the kazoo. What instrument are Enzo and Cass going to bring to the table?
Carmella.
You're going to blow on Carmella.
Have you seen the size of Cass?
All right.
But can you imagine when we actually do get to WrestleMania and Enzo and Cass are the guys who do come out at Fast Lane, 100,000 people chanting along to Enzo and Cass's introduction.
Or 100,000 people not knowing what the hell is going on.
This is WrestleMania. That is the smarkiest of smarkiest crowds ever. It's London on steroids in terms of crowds.
Oh, the American wrestling world's gonna hate
I think it might take precedence over Rusev's tank entrance as my favourite WrestleMania entrance ever.
Oh, poor Rusev. Poor Rusev. But moving on from this match that's not really even a match, let's head on to the Divas Championship. It is Charlotte with Ric Flair taking on Brie Bella. How do we see this going down with all kind of the recent speculation that Brie may actually be retiring soon?
I've seen mixed sort of predictions for this. There's a kind of a school of thought that with Brie being on the way out, there might be a title win and then, vacate and leave it open for the rest of the division to feud over. So that'd be an interesting take on it.
It's certainly something that I've kind of seen and something that I kind of want to lean with, almost in a sense that Brie takes the title and retires it and we get a return of the women's title. That's my sky high, oh my god, I wish it would happen booking. And it kind of fits. I mean, Nikki's may potentially not coming back, Brie's retiring, the Divas title has almost kind of been built around the Bellas, So with both of them coming to the end of their careers, it almost kind of makes fitting sense for them to also just retire the Divas title and bring back the women's title.
Yeah, there was a WWE.com poll which asked which title do you want to see brought back, and this was a long time back now, actually. And I think this was at the start of the Divas Revolution, and far and above was the women's title, and quite audibly, so was Sasha and Charlotte and Paige all saying that they want the women's title back rather than obviously the Divas title.
But will the WWE do that in a world where title Divas exists?
Well, we're seeing it in NXT. They're like, the NXT women's division is called the women's division. It's the women's title. Whenever they have a number one contenders match, it's a women's battle royale. It's not the Divas battle royale, so...
No, Russ has just hit the nail on the head there. They're not going to take the Divas belt away when they've got the cross-branding with the Total Divas. That's not going to happen.
They should at least change the belt, because, Jesus.
You're not a fan of the pink butterfly vagina?
Not when it's a belt.
I have not looked closely enough at this belt.
Well, in terms of the outcome of this then, where do people think this is going to go?
I think it'll go with Brie, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's going to go with Brie too. I mean, they've got to give us something. They're going to give her a push because of Bryan, aren't they? And yeah, even if she loses it on Monday, or she holds it till WrestleMania, or she retires it, I think Brie's going to take it just to give Charlotte something to do, because Charlotte's really pissing me off at the moment.
Why is Charlotte pissing you off?
Oh, I don't...
She can't spear properly.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. But I don't...
Or speak properly.
Yeah, just everything about her aggravates me. I don't even know what it is, but she's whenever she comes on the TV, I just like to turn away now, because I think it's just like, I'm more pissed off at the fact that I'd rather see that, like, Becky or Charlotte in that position than her, and realistically it is only because she is a Flair that she's had that given to her to begin with, because she's not the greatest wrestler out of the girls that went up, and it is just because they've got Flair on her side that she's been given that opportunity. And she can't talk, she can't spear, she can barely wrestle. So I'd rather Brie have it.
We have some fighting words tonight here on Out of Nowhere. Jesus.
The only thing, first of all, Brie's not going to win. Charlotte's winning this, and the only way that she is going to win is if the unlikely happens and they get rid of the Divas title, or that they drop it again on Monday night, which I don't see really happening. So Brie's going to lose this one. But if she did win, that would mean that she'd retire with Nikki and Brie both having 2 title reigns each. I don't know if that comes into the conversation at all, but I don't think, if Brie's coming back, I don't think Nikki's coming back if you listen to her injuries. I don't think we'll see her come back either, to be honest. So they might want it to even it up for their end in their careers. But Charlotte's winning this, and then as I say, it sets up nicely for Mania.
I think we're going to see Brie win this one. I do think she's going to win and probably retire with the belt. And then we then get our build up to WrestleMania, which I do then agree will be the triple threat of Charlotte, Banks and Becky Lynch for the vacated and newly established women's title. Well, that's what I hope, at least anyway. I can still see them just Brie retiring and then them just vacating the Divas title, then fighting with the Divas title at Mania. But I do agree that we are getting that triple threat at Mania. But who knows? We may even see Daniel Bryan come down afterwards. So So yeah, let's move on to the next matchup, and it is Chris Jericho taking on AJ Styles. What people thoughts about this?
Finally a match we can talk about.
Well, let's get into this. What are people's thoughts of AJ's kind of how W have used AJ and his kind of feud with Jericho, and The Miz also being somewhat involved in this?
The Miz is perfect fodder for both of them. AJ Styles Jericho is I'd quite happily watch it. I hope they put on a longer and better match than what was on SmackDown. But preface to that with saying that SmackDown's match was good as well. I'm really looking forward to it.
Their recent match on SmackDown where Jericho won was a very good match. And this, I just really enjoyed the way they've been building up AJ Styles. You know, they're not wasting him. They're building up correctly. They're putting him into Chris Jericho. He's beaten The Miz. He had a good showing at the Rumble. Granted, his nickname, the Redneck Rookie and the Pitbull, are somewhat aggravating. But at the same time, like the way the announcers talk about him, the way he gets to showcase his moves, the matches he's having, they are treating him like he is a big guy. And I've got to believe that this feud with Chris Jericho has all been about building AJ Styles. You know, they've got his loss out early, so he doesn't have to be one of those guys who's on an unbeaten run. And he can just go on and put on these great matches with Chris Jericho. And The Miz has been stellar as like the go-between that they would do their one-upmanship on, and the promos they've had back and forth have been really entertaining. And with this, I've got to see that AJ Styles pulling off the victory on this one.
Yep, agree with that. It's got to be AJ Styles, and I think the way they've built him up is perfect. Like you say, the way they've showcased him so far. Just got to hope that, you know, if he comes out successful on the back of this feud, which he should, that they've got big plans for him going forwards, because, you know, he's obviously, or the company obviously see him as a big part of the future going forwards because of the way they're treating him.
No, agreed. And we'll get on to a match that he potentially could be, or a superstar he could potentially be feuding with later on, which would be Kevin Owens, or the winner of Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler, I'm pretty much assuming. But I think we can all agree that whatever the plan is, it's going to be big for AJ Styles at Mania.
I think it continues till Mania.
You think Jericho continues to Mania?
Yeah, I really do. It doesn't matter which way you swing it. Styles could win and Jericho gets pissed, so he really wants to, you know, that revenge match at Mania. And then equally the other way around, Jericho wins, so he thinks he is still the dog of the WWE compared to the new Pitbull rookie, which is insulting to call AJ Styles a rookie, by the way. So it doesn't matter who wins this one. I think you could spin it either way, so it continues to Mania.
Could you see them both going after the Intercontinental title then and have a triple threat?
Sure, absolutely. Put them both for the Intercontinental title against Kevin Owens, that'd be fantastic. Because Kevin Owens is going to win.
Well, we'll get onto that match in a second. Chelsea, what do you think about this?
Yeah, again, you guys have pretty much covered it. I'm really happy with the way that they've been building up AJ Styles. He's going to take the win. It's just one of those things where, yeah, it's Chris Jericho, but he's had his time. He's there to pretty much put AJ Styles over. Again, those two have been putting on really good matches, and that's all I can really say about it, really. It's one of the matches I'm most looking forward to. It's going to be one of the technically best matches.
You must be loving this, Chelsea, as a massive Jericho fan and a massive AJ Styles fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm as much as coming out the Rumble, I really wanted the AJ Styles Kevin Owens feud. Like you say, Jericho has always been one of my favourites. So just to see those two in a ring together, it's my favourite parts of Raw and SmackDown at the moment. I'm really happy with what they're doing with him. Not disappointed. I don't understand when I read on the internet how people think he's being booked wrong and they're burying him because he lost once to Jericho on SmackDown. Like it's ridiculous. I'm really happy with the way it's being done, and it's definitely one of the better feuds that are going around at the moment.
Yeah, to complain about the booking is stupid. Just flat out stupid. He's been booked he's been booked perfectly.
They're probably the same people that were complaining that he wasn't in the Rumble for long, to be fair.
Exactly, yeah. Or too long, or whichever way they want to put it. Yeah. I think he's been fantastic. They've both showcased great in-ring ability, which we knew they both had, but now they've put it in the WWE ring. And it's going to continue where it accumulates to what should be one of the best matches of the night, if not the best match of the night. I can't decide who's going to win this one, however.
Go on, you gotta choose. Who's it gonna be? You
Oh,
got the
but
three of
then-
us saying AJ Styles. Are you gonna be contrarian again?
Have I been contrarian a few times today?
Well, you're the only one who predicted Charlotte to win. You predicted.
You're the only one who doesn't like Enzo and Cass.
Jericho.
Well, there you have it. Jericho is going to be winning this match.
Yeah.
The robot version of Jericho or something.
Well, let's move on to that Intercontinental title match then, as we talked about it so much already. It is Dolph Ziggler versus the recently crowned Intercontinental Champion Kevin Owens. People surprised by the Intercontinental title switch before Fastlane?
I think in the context of the main event of Fastlane, no. Because going into that, if Ambrose still holds the Intercontinental title, there's no one really looking at that thinking he can come out of that with a win. So in that context, I wasn't particularly surprised to see it change hands.
Totally agreed.
I mean, me and Mike, we did speak about this, where we thought, if Dean Ambrose were to win, then he could potentially lose it after Fastlane, but I was quite shocked it actually did happen beforehand, and was very relieved that it did get into the hands of Kevin Owens, who his character just suits a title so much. Like his character just becomes so much bigger when he has that title in his hand. So it's great to see again, and hopefully he goes on for quite a longer run with it.
Yeah, it was a perfect way to drop it, wasn't it? And we said put him against a load of people, and then he didn't even have to be pinned to lose it. So he saved his face that way. Whether he couldn't, as Russ said, he couldn't go into that match with that title because if he wins and he goes to Triple H, is then title versus title, which is not necessary at this point. If he loses, he's going to face Brock Lesnar, and then Brock Lesnar, if he wins, is the Intercontinental title champion. Again, that doesn't make much sense either. So he had to lose it really. And we've been saying there's one man who really needs to have a title on him. Gives it some credibility, gives it his character. He completes his character really. So the switch was what we expected, and I'm glad it really did happen now. Whether or not it's going to be good this week, because I don't know if you've noted this, we have seen this match before.
Really?
About 500 times.
Yeah, we've had it before. I didn't want to shock you or anything. So I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be a very enjoyable match, and Kevin Owens is going to win.
Does no one think they're going to throw Dolph Ziggler a bone after just loss after loss after loss in big matches?
Well, why would they not have got him to win the 5-man and then lose at Fastlane instead? If they wanted to throw him a bone, that would have been the way to do it.
Fair point.
Chelsea, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts on this?
Just let me hit my head against the table for a little bit. Yeah.
This is your boy. This is Kevin Owens fight.
Yeah, I'm like you said, I'm really happy he's got the belt back. I always say it, he's a million times better when he's got a belt around his waist. I wasn't surprised that Ambrose lost it, like you say, because if he doesn't win this triple threat, he is more than likely going to face Lesnar at Mania. But just for the fact we're going to have to sit through Owens versus Ziggler for the 700th time, it's painful. Like, yeah, Owens is going to win. It's going to be a halfway decent match, but this pay-per-view is really getting me down. I have nothing good to say about it. Yeah, Owens is going to win, and hopefully everything crossed that this is just going to be the end of that feud, because I'm just sick to death of having Owens come out, and I'm every time Owens comes out, I'm really pumped for the match, and then just for Ziggler's music to hit afterwards, I'm just getting bored. I'm really, really bored.
Again, it's a kind of an ongoing thing we've touched upon, is just how kind of stale this pay-per-view feels. I mean, outside of the main event, there's nothing really that new on this pay-per-view. I mean, even AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho's happened twice already. There's just not a lot fresh about this pay-per-view.
Yeah, we came out of the Rumble with such high hopes for the road to WrestleMania, and it seems like what they could have done badly, they've done. Who would, when we came out of the Rumble match, Brie wouldn't even have been a question in our mind. I don't know, they just seem to rise themselves up to the top, and then they can't stay there, and it's really disappointing. And for the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, it's bad. It's really, really bad.
Well, before we get on to the main event then, quickly, is everyone here going for Owens winning this Intercontinental title match?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's get on to the triple threat then, the main event. The only real reason people actually want to watch this pay-per-view, the triple threat number one contenders match, the winner facing World Heavyweight Champion Triple H at WrestleMania 32, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose. Brother versus Beast.
What I want to happen and what will happen are two very different things. What I want to happen...
You're in the trust tree here, Russ, get it out.
What I want to happen is a Dean Ambrose heel turn. He royally takes a massive shit all over Roman Reigns.
Figuratively or literally here?
Whatever it takes to get him over the heel. But that's what I want to happen. But we all know that it's going to be Roman Reigns, WrestleMania, Triple H, yawn, bollocks, whatever. That's what I think about it. I mean, you're right in what you're saying, Mike. I think if Reigns wins this one, goes over, it sets up a nice feud with Ambrose and Lesnar, which I think will be really good, really entertaining. However, it just leaves the title picture as a big shitty mess, as it's been for quite some time while Reigns has been involved with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. As much as we all want Dean Ambrose to win, it's not going to fucking happen. Roman Reigns is going to pin Ambrose. We're going to get Roman Reigns Triple H main event at WrestleMania. I fucking love Triple H. He's my favourite wrestler ever, and to have him main event in WrestleMania once again should make me on top of the world. But again, I just couldn't give a shit. But no, Roman Reigns is going to win. The only thing I can say about all of this is that Ambrose promos with Steph and Heyman have been the best bits of Raw for the past couple of weeks. Like, Ambrose has just been incredible on the mic the past couple of weeks. And
but how the WWE can't look at that and think, maybe this guy's a good option for the main event and a bit of a title run because he can actually use the microphone.
No, but Roman Reigns is so far up Vince's ass that he can't see anything other than his face. So
there's a couple of ways where this could go. I say a couple because there's a few logical ways you could take this, and then there's the WWE. That's the way that they're going to take this. We could, this one match does have so much opportunity to create something special at WrestleMania. It really, really does. And even let's say WWE does the predictable route, WWE does Roman Reigns versus Triple H, Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar at Mania. You've still got Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar, which has been selling us this pay-per-view this past month, and will sell us on the way to WrestleMania, and will be the non-main event main event. That would be an amazing feud. And if we do get Roman Reigns versus Triple H, then hopefully it caps off the Authority and we're done, and it's nice and present, and the Authority can piss off. Roman Reigns has the title, and then we get a Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns feud, which I think could be interesting, especially with returning Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that would be really fun. But the reason why there's one very specific reason as to why I think that is the way it's going to go down. That Ambrose is going to face off Lesnar because Reigns will win. And there's only one very specific reason, and that is because The Rock is confirmed for Mania, and he's going to be involved in the main event. He had his running with Triple H at Mania last year, the year before, 2 years ago.
Last year.
When was it? Last year.
Oh, that Ronda Rousey segment, wasn't it?
Yeah, with the Ronda Rousey, that's right. So he had his running there. He's going to have his running this year as well. Maybe cost Triple H the title. And then I reckon we have a Triple H Rock match at some point the following year.
It's definitely been rumoured, and there's been they've touched upon maybe those two getting back in the ring together, which would be an amazing sight to see those two going at it, at WrestleMania again.
Do you think it would do a John Cena The Rock thing? Call it Monday night after Mania for the following Mania?
I could see that. I could definitely see that, and it would definitely sell, and it will I'd be excited to see them go at it once again. Because those two did put on some good matches and a few good feuds, and definitely like two big icons like that. But kind of with this match, kind of to go harken back to what Russ said, really, there's the potential for this match to create something really fucking different, and that is you have Dean Ambrose win it by pinning Roman Reigns, have Dean Ambrose versus Triple H at Mania with Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, with Roman Reigns doing the heel turn on Brock Lesnar, and then chasing Dean Ambrose for, being a disrespectful brother, not letting him win it, yada, yada, yada. And, you then have a Dean Ambrose with the title being chased by Roman Reigns after WrestleMania, which I think is a potentially more interesting spin on things. But
it's definitely interesting. It would be a curveball to what we expect. And if there's anything that we've said on this podcast is that we want the curveball. Not just this podcast, all the other podcasts we've done. We don't want WWE to be predictable. We want these curveballs thrown in. This whole show is predictable in my eyes. Up to one match, I think, the AJ Styles Jericho match. Every other match, I think, is.
And that's not to say predictable's bad. Like, predictable can be good when the story's told correctly. Like, we're all
it's been predictable for like 12 months.
There's predictable in these, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. That could be considered to be predictable, but it's something we're all excited to see happen. So I think there's good kind of logical storytelling, and then there's the we're just waiting for Roman Reigns to win the title now. Predictable.
But that's fine as long as you get to the end game that you want, but you go there by path C instead of A or B, such as the Divas. They're going through Brie Bella. You said it yourself. We would never have thought Brie Bella would have been in this pay-per-view, the Mania, the pay-per-view before Mania. That would never have even crossed our mind. I'm happy for it to happen. I'm maybe not specifically Brie. I think it's a little predictable again that Charlotte is going to win. I wish it was somebody else who would more likely to win. But I don't necessarily think then that's a bad thing.
I think this match has a lot. Like I said, it has a lot of potential and a lot of setup, and this match basically decides what the WrestleMania 32 card's going to look like,
This match decides whether the main event gets dumped on, to be honest.
And until they ring that bell, anything, it's the WWE, anything could still potentially happen. There's still that potential there. I'm still going to predict that we're going to get the Roman Reigns win. He's going to pin Dean Ambrose, and we're going to get Roman Reigns Triple H, Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose, with Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose feuding after Mania. But there's still that possibility that they do something different from that.
Yeah, I think, as predictable as we're making it out to be, and how bad that we think the main event of WrestleMania is going to be, I think we just have to look back at last year. I don't think anybody, it might have been in the back of some people's minds, but the fact that last year's main event was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and it was either Brock Lesnar keeping that title and it carrying on as it were, or Roman Reigns winning and it being a shitstorm. Seth Rollins coming out was a massive, holy shit, this is actually happening. So they can pull it out the bag sometimes. So I guess there is still that little bit of hope there that maybe we do get something worthy out of Ambrose, but at the same time, it's just very, there's nothing really good you can say about it without just having that little bit of hope that they are going to pull it out like they sometimes do, and when they do pull it out, it's really good.
And if we just discuss the match quality alone, you can't deny this is going to be a good match. The last big triple threat match we had with Brock Lesnar was the one of Seth Rollins and John Cena. Brock Lesnar hasn't really had a bad match. Dean Ambrose is constantly putting on good matches, and Roman Reigns, when he's in this position where he gets beaten down by Brock Lesnar, or he has to prove himself, he does deliver. He delivered at Fast Lane last year against Daniel Bryan. So whatever the outcome, we are still going to get a very good match, and it's going to be very brawly, and it's going to be very bloody, I imagine, as well.
Oh yeah, this match is a dead cert to have the Brock Lesnar into a ring post blood spot. That's absolutely going to happen.
It's going to be like the Hell in a Cell one where it's just fucking everywhere.
He doesn't even need to blade Brock Lesnar. He's so thin-skinned, he'll bleed at the slightest touch of metal.
I think the way I look at it, though, the way I look at all things when I'm thinking what I want to happen in WWE is what will I have more fun watching? And I know in my mind I'd have more fun watching if Ambrose wins and takes the match at Mania with Triple H. That's just how I approach it, and I think that's how a lot of people potentially are looking at this. So I hope that's what happens.
As much as I've been saying this is predictable, following on to Mania, I can't be more happy with what we'd have. I'm quite looking forward to Triple H versus Reigns and Ambrose versus Lesnar. If that does happen, then I'm going to be a happy man come April 3rd, 4th-ish. Whatever day it is.
So let's go into this final predictions then. What do we think is going to happen?
Roman Reigns is pinning Dean Ambrose.
Roman Reigns gets the victory.
Pinning Dean Ambrose, or have you got him beating Brock Lesnar?
You know what? I'll say Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's going to deliver an F5 to Ambrose, and he's going to do his jump up at Celebration as he does, and then Reigns is going to come in with a spear.
And he's finally going to pin Brock Lesnar.
Ambrose heel turn, takes the win, pins Reigns.
Fucking loves it.
I'm backing it.
I'm going to go again with Reigns taking the victory over Ambrose, but I hope that we get the Ambrose win and we see that, or maybe even a triple threat, Ambrose, Reigns, Triple H at Mania, which could be very interesting if they go down that route, which they have been teasing with all the tension between the two of Reigns and Ambrose. But let's move on to one last little thing. Let's go on some uplifting and happy news, and the update that Bret Hart did undergo prostate cancer surgery on the 2nd of the 10th in Calgary, and by all accounts, the procedure's been a success. He's had a prostate completely removed, and doctors are confident that the cancer's been contained, so we won't need any more chemotherapy or radiation and should make a full recovery. So,
awesome news.
And I think on that we can wrap this one up. So, Mike, where can people contact you?
At Django Bob 96.
Chelsea?
At Chelsea Vader on Twitter.
Chelsea had died there, apparently. Russ, where can people contact you?
At Russ Point on Twitter.
Well, you can contact all of us at Out of Nowhere Pod on Twitter, at Out of Nowhere Podcast on gmail.com, and of course, please don't forget to check out the rest of our lovely podcast brother and sisters over at the outoflies.net and the Out of Lies Network. So yeah, contact us all, get in touch, send us your queries, questions, comments, your predictions for Fast Lane, and your thoughts on the Cruiserweight Show and who potentially could the Undertaker be facing come WrestleMania. Catch you all next time.
Mark.